What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today we're going to be talking about something I never expected to see acknowledged for Modern Warfare 3, a huge issue that may finally start seeing some changes, plus even more. Definitely stay tuned. But before we jump into that, be sure to hit that subscribe button down below, drop a like, and also as a reminder, we got plenty of brand new coverage going up over on detonated.com, expanding on all the content you're seeing here on the channel, just in the form of articles on the website, and plenty of tweets every single hour, of course, on Detonated's Twitter. Now, this is a topic that I have talked about a little bit in the past, but primarily more on the podcast than anything. It's just kind of awkward to maybe make a news video about Warzone or zombies and to somehow squeeze in a topic about skill-based matchmaking in that video. But whenever I see comments saying, DK, why don't you address the strict matchmaking, and what are you defending, and why don't you acknowledge the big issue that is harming Modern Warfare 3 right now? And the truth is, I have talked about it, again, in length on my podcast that I do every single Friday, and certainly even on stream, right? Whenever I'm streaming some gameplay, going for challenges, playing pubs, whatever the case is in regards to MP and Warzone, I've definitely talked about skill-based matchmaking quite a bit. But something I always find funny is a series of tweets that did surface a good, I think it was 2-3 years ago, where somebody was complaining about SBMM on Twitter, in which a developer replied saying that SBMM has existed ever since maybe Black Ops 2. It's been well over a decade of seeing skill-based matchmaking in Call of Duty multiplayer, and was the person replied to the dev asking for a source or asking for proof, and the dev replies saying, I actually wrote the code for SBMM in Black Ops 2. It was hilarious, but again, further confirmation that SBMM isn't anything new, but it cannot be denied that ever since Modern Warfare 2019, SBMM has certainly been scaled up. Could you consider it a lot more strict than it ever was? You could if you want to, but again, when it comes to your in-game experience for MP, Warzone, whatever the case is, it's all a person-to-person basis, but I think a general consensus could come to an agreement that, yeah, skill-based matchmaking has certainly become a lot more rough over the last couple of years than it ever was in the past, and something that I think we all understand by now, or maybe not everybody, but skill-based matchmaking cannot just be turned off by the flip of a switch. It's deeply integrated in the way the matchmaking works for Call of Duty. So what we're going to talk about today doesn't imply that it'll ever be removed, but means that it could be somewhat modified, at least for future COD installments, maybe not this one right now, MW3, but people also, I think, tend to forget that the core developers that work on, let's say, maps, modes, roadmaps, marketing, they don't work on the matchmaking. I know it was clarified exactly who works on the matchmaking, but it is a big team effort. I mean, it's a giant Call of Duty team that works in the matchmaking, and I believe Demonware is kind of front and center with some of that development. It's not the same folks that are working on your zombie updates or multiplayer, Warzone. Like I said, it's a completely separate team that probably still communicates how the development is going with the core devs that we all know that work on the content that we play, but the development of the content that we play is not at all affected by how your matchmaking works. Again, separate teams entirely, similar to what I said before about people out there that complain that, oh, there's not enough 6v6 maps or weapons or modes, yet there's all these bundles. Again, it's a separate team entirely that works on the cosmetic side. They have nothing to do with the actual content you're in-game playing. Now, I think when it comes to SBMM, there has to be data behind the scenes that Activision has had for quite a bit that suggests why SBMM is needed or why it had to be cranked up beginning with Modern Warfare 19, which has me thinking that skill-based matchmaking is something more like engagement-based matchmaking, right? Some type of system to encourage players to play the game even longer, to play it over the course of an entire season, which in turn would probably encourage them to check out the item shop to spend even more money. So I think the way the SBMM works isn't just based on your skill, but it has to do with engagement to prolong the player's experience in just playing that Call of Duty installment. Now, something I've also said that I wanted to go over before I read their official statement is that when it comes to how Call of Duty multiplayer or even Warzone plays today, I want to say that players have just gotten better over the last couple of years. I think the overall ecosystem of Call of Duty has gotten sweatier because it's been around for so long. More and more people have jumped onto it. More and more people have given it a shot or have took the time to get better. So I think regardless of SBMM, players are just getting better, getting sweatier, and that's probably never going to change. But if you have a matchmaking system that's a little less aggressive than what we have now, that could definitely ease the wound a little bit and just help out with the matchmaking to ensure that if you are going up against other sweats, it's not all that often. So unexpectedly, a good couple of days ago, right before the initial marketing began for Season 1, Detonated went ahead and received an official statement from the Call of Duty team about matchmaking. And to put it really quickly in a tweet here, talking about this topic in detail can be hard, and we haven't spent the time to pull together all of our work to share. So that's what they mentioned here in this statement, but let's take a look at exactly what they said about how matchmaking works in Modern Warfare 3 and probably how it's worked over the last couple of years. We know there's a lot of interest in the matchmaking experience, especially around how skill contributes to how lobbies and matches are put together. Nothing is more important to us than the experience players have had with the game, and matchmaking is a big part of that. We've been working on our matchmaking system for well over 10 years, and we continue to spend a ton of time and energy on improving the matchmaking process. This involves people working at our Call of Duty studios, our backend services team at Demonware, and other groups like our Player Insights team. It's a large effort that we've worked on for many years, and our approach combines latency, search time, and skill, along with many other factors to try to find the best match experience for you. Talking about this topic in detail can be hard, and we haven't spent the time to pull together all of our work to share with our insights and improvements over the many years. Looking forward to doing that in the coming weeks after Season 1 launches, and we'll also make it a big part of our ongoing discussions with the community. So that right there is shocking to read. I mean, they've confirmed they're going to be talking more about the matchmaking in the coming weeks after Season 1. That's exciting because I wonder what other context they could provide us with or other explanations that can help with this topic, right? Could it give players hope that matchmaking won't be as strict in the future, or it'll just be a little statement saying, okay, here's how it works and here's why this is here to stay. I wonder what approach they'll actually take with talking more about this in the coming weeks. But something I've always said over the last couple of months is that, look, whenever a Call of Duty multiplayer is really solid content-wise, the only complaint you're ever going to see is the matchmaking. SBMM, it's too sweaty. That's all you're going to see, and that's really all I have seen with Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer, which to me is a good sign. It means the game is solid and well-rounded. It's something that I also saw at the beginning of Cold War cycle, right? It was, oh, the game was made during the pandemic. There's not enough 6v6 maps. Where's the content? And by Season 1, Season 2, the game had plenty of content, which quickly fixed that issue. So all I saw about Cold War was SBMM, it's too sweaty, and that was really the only complaint until Tech 9 and Marshals got added, and we've seen that with other CODs as well. And I do want to thank the Call of Duty teams again for trusting Detonated with that embargoed information a couple of days ago. It really means the world. But if you guys are wondering, why are they addressing this now? What has changed? Well, a few things come to mind. I mean, first off, you could speculate that maybe Microsoft had some involvement in pushing out that statement, although I doubt that, since we talked about this in length before. Microsoft likely won't change or come into any type of conflict with how Call of Duty works. If anything, they could just leverage Call of Duty to promote Game Pass when COD does go to Game Pass eventually, and that's really it. I don't think they'll necessarily step on any toes of the studios and change what is right now a billion-dollar business. Call of Duty is very successful, so maybe it's not that, but could there also be data to suggest that whatever is going on with the matchmaking, right, whatever data that they have to suggest that it's a positive, is it now becoming a negative? Is it backfiring in any way? Could that have been a reason why they finally put out a statement because they have plans to change how it works in the future? It's certainly a possibility. Now, maybe for whatever reason, the way that they dialed up the matchmaking with Modern Warfare 19, maybe that worked for that game, Warzone, Cold War Vanguard, MW2 even, and then Warzone 2.0, but maybe with Modern Warfare 3 and this new iteration of Warzone we're about to get in a couple days, maybe that matchmaking has to change because it's no longer providing Activision with the success that they hoped that it would. I mean, you can also go as far as to say maybe right now engagement could be high with Modern Warfare 3, but maybe they foresee that engagement may drop off because of the matchmaking. I mean, there's a lot of things we can speculate here. We don't have the exact answers in front of us, but it's still fun to have a discussion about. Now, recently there was a Q&A Sledgehammer did on Reddit, and I still find it funny that to this day, there wasn't a way that they could have filtered out questions about SBMM, which we know they weren't going to answer. They also did a Q&A on the Pulse Check podcast. I mean, even Raven popped in, I think, on the Pulse Check podcast, the chat itself, and people out there asking about SBMM are never going to get their questions answered. So we all knew that kind of going into the AMA on Reddit, and yet they still answered a decent amount of questions, which I found useful, but maybe because of all the spam with asking about SBMM, it encouraged them to finally put out a statement considering how transparent all the studios have been, especially with the launch of Modern Warfare 3. Let's keep that train going, keep that transparency with the community, and let's finally address something that has been asked for a number of years. Now, it's definitely frustrating when people out there are almost quote-unquote forced to reverse boost, and nobody's forced to do it, but you know, you have the gameplay-focused multiplayer channels or the gameplay-focused Warzone channels. You know they're going to go ahead and reverse boost or use VPNs, whatever the case is. They're joining bot lobbies to go ahead and get better gameplay. It's frustrating when that has to happen because of how strict the matchmaking could be, and maybe they just can't keep up for the sake of their business. But then you have other things like input-based matchmaking, with the fact that you can't just change your input when you spawn into a game. You accidentally selected the wrong input before you spawned in, you have to back out and queue again, right? That gets frustrating. I mean, disbanding lobbies is something that also has probably been the most upsetting part of SBMM for me over the years, because it's fun out there to either win or lose against another team and to rematch them, right? Whether it's because you did really well or you just want to try them out again to hopefully get a victory this time. The fact that you can't do that anymore is a bit upsetting, and I know it was said with Modern Warfare 2, and I think even Modern Warfare 3, that disbanding lobbies isn't a guarantee. I mean, there will be times you do play with the same people, but it's still pretty rare, and you can bet that has something to do with how skill-based matchmaking does work. But with how strict the SBMM could be, it almost forces players to go ahead and use the meta. They can't sit back. They can't just relax and complete challenges without worrying about competing with, CDL type players. That gets annoying. People out there just want to sit back and casually play the game. They don't want to have to worry about, oh, you played good for 1 or 2 matches in a row, now you're going to be in a bunch of sweaty lobbies for the next 4 or 5, and then rinse and repeat every day, right? That does get annoying. Now, although the beginning of a new season is typically extremely sweaty, at least on the multiplayer side, I can hope that once Ranked comes out with Reloaded, and once Warzone gets significant updates with Season 1, a lot of sweats that are currently plaguing the MP lobbies might move on to those other experiences, and you might start seeing less sweats across the board. But overall, the sweats are never going away. That's always going to be apparent. But when it comes to the matchmaking, if it just gets dialed down a bit and hopefully gets explained even better in the next couple of weeks, I think people out there are going to be really happy with that moving forward. But it's never going to be perfect, right? It's not going to be a case where they come out with a big statement, they turn a switch off, and all of a sudden every lobby you get into is going to be easy. Like I said earlier in the video, players are just getting better at Call of Duty, and that's never going to stop. But so long as the matchmaking isn't punishing you for the sake of engagement, then I think we're going to be just smooth sailing from here when it comes to the future of COD multiplayer and even Warzone. But that is about it. This has been dkdynamite. Leave your thoughts down below in the comment section. What are your thoughts on the official statement about SBMM from the Call of Duty team? Did you expect them to finally address skill-based matchmaking? And what do you think the changes are going to be for either Modern Warfare 3 or future COD installments, if any at all? Really hope you've enjoyed, and peace out, everybody.